Israel launched new airstrikes on Gaza today, flattening buildings and killing at least 42 people. And the UN Security Council convened today to discuss the worst outbreak of Israeli-Palestinian fighting in years. Jennifer Johnson has more.
Rescuers search for survivors after a series of pre-dawn airstrikes in Gaza City. It was the deadliest single day of attacks since heavy fighting broke out between Israel and Hamas militants a week ago. Israel's prime minister is defending the strikes as the death toll on both sides mounts.
If Hamas thought that they could just fire on our rockets and then sit back and enjoy immunity, that's false. We are targeting a terrorist organization that is targeting our civilians and hiding behind their civilians, using them as human shields.
In cities across the country, pro-Palestinian rallies were held this weekend, while in New York, the UN Security Council held an unusual Sunday session, addressing the worst violence in the Middle East in years. President Biden left the White House late Saturday, ignoring reporters' questions after talking to both the Palestinian Authority president and Israel's prime minister, reaffirming his support for Israel's right to defend itself. Most in Biden's own party agree, but some are also defending the Palestinians.
The Palestinian people have a right to live in peace and freedom, to a state of their own, living side by side in peace with Israel.
The White House says the president also raised concerns about civilian casualties and protecting journalists after an Israeli airstrike hit a building that housed the Associated Press and Al Jazeera. Israel did warn the journalists to get out before the building was hit. Jennifer Johnson, NBC News, Washington.
A U.S. envoy is now in Israel attempting to negotiate a ceasefire. And tragedy struck today during a Jewish worship service in the Israeli-occupied West Bank. Israeli medics say 2 people died and more than 150 were injured when bleachers collapsed at a synagogue under construction. Security video shows a crowded grandstand collapsing and worshipers falling on top of each other. Police said 650 worshipers were there at the time, despite official warnings that the building zone was unsafe. Up next, one last home game for the NDSU baseball team. Devin Fry has scores and highlights next.